Welcome to Nerdy and Flirty, a podcast designed to help you create a life that you love. It's nerdy with science fact information, and it's flirty. It's fun, it's quick, it's straight to the point. My name is Cass, and welcome back to the podcast. I am so excited to be back on the microphone talking to you right now. You have no idea how much I've missed podcasting in this last week that I've been off. I am so happy to be back, and I am back with a piping hot episode. Today, we are talking about your inner monologue, your inner dialogue, your inner voice, those thoughts in your head, and how to control them to be more self-loving, more positive, and more productive. This episode is going to help you whether you are going through a happy time, a hard time, an injury, whatever the case is. We all have this inner monologue, and many of us let it just run our lives without us having any input or impact on it. And today is the day that changes. The most influential person in your life is yourself, and it's in your head. I'm sure you've heard the phrase, the way you speak to yourself matters. And that is absolutely true. The way you speak and the words you use matter. And I want to take it one step further. The way you speak to yourself creates your reality. What you are thinking is literally how your life plays out, whether you realize it or not, whether it's going the way you want it to or not. And I'm not saying this in a woo-woo way where you can just think something and it magically happens. That is not the case. But the way you speak to yourself and the way you feel about yourself and the messages you are telling yourself day in and day out is creating your reality, whether you realize it or not. And today, I want to give you some of the lessons I've learned about this topic and some of the things that I've done to kind of change that narrative in my head and how you can change yours to be more positive, to be more loving, to be whatever you want to be more of in your life. It starts with the messages in your head. There are lots of different psychology studies out there that discuss how many thoughts we have per day. And the results range anywhere from 10,000 to 70,000 thoughts per day. And many of these studies confirm the same fact that anywhere from 95 to 98% of the thoughts we have are the same thoughts. That means that only 2 to 5% of our thoughts each day are unique and different than the ones we've been thinking all day, which is crazy because if those thoughts that you have on repeat are negative, you're spending most of your thoughts and most of your day thinking negative thoughts. And that is not where we want to be. In fact, studies show that around 80% of our thoughts each day are negative thoughts. Now, having some negative thoughts is not always going to be horrible. In fact, it keeps us protected from dangerous situations, uncomfortable situations, things that we should avoid, that kind of thing. For example, you go out on a date and the guy is so obnoxious, not paying attention to you, very rude to the wait staff. Yeah, you're probably going to think negatively about it. You're not going to tell yourself, oh my God, he's the guy of my dreams, if he's not. There are definitely certain situations where you'll be grateful that you thought negatively about it because you can avoid the consequences that might have come up. However, if most of us are spending all of our day thinking negative thoughts about ourselves and about our reality and about our day-to-day life, that's where we would maybe have room for improvement. The way we think and speak about our lives really does make the reality. I'm going to be very upfront with you right now. If you are constantly telling yourself that your life is too hard and nothing ever works out in your favor and no one cares about you and nothing is going right, guess what? You're going to spend most of your days feeling like that. But having positive self-talk does not mean just saying none of these problems exist. Positive self-talk is not saying problems don't exist. That's where toxic positivity comes in my opinion. We don't want that either. Positive self-talk is saying things like, I can overcome obstacles. I am strong. I can figure things out. I'm a problem solver. I make it through hard times. That's the way to do positive self-talk. Positive self-talk isn't just telling yourself everything is butterflies and rainbows and everything's amazing and everything's perfect, because that's just going to lead to some disappointment when the inevitable problems and challenges of life come up. I think that there's a fine line between being positive and being optimistic and still being realistic to the fact that obstacles do come up. Life does not always go the way we want it to, but knowing that you will overcome that and you will get through that is the positive part of the self-talk. And the reason I'm doing this episode is because I saw this firsthand with my surgery. I had ACL surgery last week, and leading up to it, I was doing lots of research, going online, reading everything I possibly could. I read the entire ACL Reddit thread, pretty much every single story on there. And that made me so nervous and fearful about this surgery. The stories on there are just so negative. Like, they're really negative. A lot of them are saying that it's going to be the worst thing ever and it's just this awful thing. And I was so prepared for this to be awful. But leading up to it, I kept telling myself, like, I need to change how I'm going into this because this is not going to go well if I'm already thinking it's going to go bad. So I sat down with myself and I was thinking, okay, how do I feel? And how can I reframe this into how I want to feel? So how did I feel initially? Fearful, scared, hopeless, helpless, self-pity, all of those things. And then how did I want to feel? Strong, like I can overcome obstacles. Healthy. I almost was telling myself that all those things that I was reading just didn't even apply to me. Like, that just wasn't going to be my reality. I don't buy into that. And let me tell you, it literally worked. Not in a woo-woo way, not in a magical way, in a real way. I went into the surgical center and the medical team kept telling me that I was the happiest patient ever because I was just happy and lighthearted and ready to do it. I came out of surgery. I was happy. I didn't have any side effects from anesthesia. My pain level has been so manageable. And notice how I'm saying it's manageable. It's not that it's not there. I don't feel like I'm just magically cured and nothing's going on. It's definitely been hard, but it's manageable. It's things that I can handle. It's things that I know I'm built to do something like this. Like, I can handle pain. I can handle discomfort. And I've been telling myself, I'm not in pain. It's just discomfort. Like, I'm just a little bit uncomfortable. And this is going to go away. Like, I'm going to be healed at some point. I don't know when. I'm not going to make a timeline that I can't attain. But the point is, if I was telling myself that I was in so much pain and this was so hard and I'm so helpless and I'm never going to get through this, it's going to be a way worse recovery than saying, I'm going to get through this. I'm going to physical therapy and I'm going to crush it. I'm going to do my exercises even when they hurt. I'm going to work through it. I'm going to get through it. I'm going to do what I need to do. And it's going to be fine. And guess what? It's been really fine. Like, it's been really fine. One of the first things that you can do to master your self-talk and to change it is to reframe what you're saying. If you're saying, this is so hard, I'm never going to get through this, change it to, this is hard, but I'm going to get through this. It doesn't mean telling yourself that this isn't hard. You don't have to tell yourself this is easy peasy, everything's comfortable, everything's going sunshine and rainbows. If that's not true, you don't have to say that. But you do have to tell yourself the backing of, I can get through this. I'm strong. I've been through this before. I can do hard things. If you're constantly telling yourself that you mess things up and nothing ever goes your way, start telling yourself that you learn from your mistakes or you have the courage to try new things. You have the courage to keep going even when you fail sometimes. That's how you get more productive with your thought process. Let's be real, we get nowhere when we're telling ourselves all of these self-fulfilling prophecies of, I'm a loser, I'm stupid, I'm lazy, I don't do enough with my life, I'm not doing good enough, I'm never going to get where I want to be. If you're always telling yourself that, you probably spend more time thinking that and less time working on whatever you want to work on. And if you're struggling to reframe what you're telling yourself, use real evidence from your life to prove it to yourself that you are capable of whatever feeling you're trying to feel. I know it's hard to start telling yourself, like, I'm a millionaire. If you're not actually a millionaire, your brain's going to be like, yeah, right. And then you're just going to go back into your normal thought process. But use evidence from what you're actually doing in your life to give yourself a healthier self-talk mindset. For example, if it is a money one, you can tell yourself, I'm financially responsible. I'm committed to my financial goals. I make my financial health a priority. That's the way to still be real with yourself and still be honest with yourself, but also take you from, I'm always going to be broke, to, No, I'm financially responsible. I'm committed to my goals. You're not saying that you're rich. You're saying that you're going to get out of the situation you're in at some point, at some time, because you do the work, because you make your budget, because you track your expenses. For example, with my surgery, I've used the hard things that I've been through before to fuel what I was telling myself. I know that I can overcome physical challenges. I know that I can overcome physical pain. I've had injuries before. I work out in the gym. I know what it's like to use my body to take me from one place to another place over an extended period of time. This recovery is going to be months. But guess what? My workout journeys took months. Getting into a workout routine took months. I've done it before. I can do it again. And that's what I use to kind of fuel what I'm telling myself positively. I'm not just telling myself, life is so perfect and everything goes my way and everything is sunshine. Like, that would be beautiful if that was the case, but let's be real, life isn't always like that. Life isn't always sunshine, and that's okay. But sometimes it actually is sunshine, and then you gotta really soak it up and enjoy it. I'm going on a tangent now, and I don't even know what I'm saying. But the point is, the most influential person in your life is yourself, and it's up in your head. It's not everyone around you. Yes, of course, we're influenced by the people around us, but the way you speak to yourself truly creates the life and the reality that you are living. Why would you torture yourself to live in a negative state of mind every single day? Why would you torture yourself by telling yourself that you're awful and you're a bad person and you don't do anything right if that's just not even true? Take what you say to yourself. Really listen to the thoughts you have in your head, unfiltered, the real thoughts you have in your head, the hard ones, the painful ones, the ones that kind of live in the back of your head every day, those ones. Really think about the destructive thoughts you have in your head and then figure out ways that you can reframe it, because most of the time, those thoughts aren't even true. Your thoughts aren't true all of the time. Most of them aren't true. You telling yourself you're a bad person and you're never going to get anywhere in life, that's not true. Maybe it comes from how you were grown up. Maybe it comes from someone telling you that as a kid. But you're grown now. That's not true. You don't have to listen to that for the rest of your life and just feel miserable. You can change that. You can reframe it into something that actually promotes you to do better with your life, something that makes you feel loved, that makes you feel productive. Whatever the thoughts you want to feel, you are in control of that. You can reframe it. And that doesn't mean that negative thoughts won't come into your head. But when you get a negative thought, respond back in your head with a positive one. So when you hear, oh, I'm never doing good enough, replace it with, I'm doing my best. I'm doing my best with the tools that I have right now and the experience that I have right now. That is so much more productive. It's a little bit of a shift, and it will completely change not only the thoughts you have on a daily basis, but your overall self-confidence and how you present yourself into the world. It is really hard to be confident to the rest of the world if you're living in such a negative headspace about yourself. If you're constantly beating yourself up in your head, it's really hard to show up into a social setting and be this confident, outgoing, bubbly personality. It's really hard to do that. If you're telling yourself no one likes you and you're not surrounded by love and no one cares about you, it's really hard to trust someone when they come up to you and genuinely want to be around you. It affects your entire reality, and you can change that. It takes time. It's not going to be overnight. But the next time that you get a negative thought about yourself, challenge it and tell yourself, is that true? And most of the time, the answer is no. And replace it with something better. A little shift. It doesn't have to be so fake that you don't believe it. The real bread and butter is when it's something real that is actually true. Like if you're telling yourself nothing ever goes your way, nothing you do is ever right, respond back with, I'm doing my best. I'm doing my best with the tools and the experiences that I have. And I'm going to keep doing my best. I'm committed to doing my best. You don't have to tell yourself, I'm perfect and successful and everything that I want is happening right here, right now. Because that's usually not true either. Having positive self-talk isn't lying to yourself on both ends of the spectrum. It's not lying to yourself positively or negatively. It's being real with yourself. The next time that you get a negative thought, challenge it. Challenge it in your head and replace it with something that's more truthful, that's more realistic to the life that you're actually living. Replace it with real things that you have evidence that you have done and can do. If you're struggling to believe me, ask someone that you're very close to that cares about you. Ask them, is this true about me? And ask them those real dark, unfiltered, negative thoughts you have on the daily basis. 99.99999% of the time, people are going to be like, are you serious? No one thinks that about you. That's not true at all. We make things up about ourselves to just feel bad all the time, and we're done doing that. I really hope that this episode was helpful. I'm so glad to be back on the microphone, so stay tuned for next week and every week after. If you liked this, share it with a friend. Share it with someone that you think this will benefit. That is the best way to promote the podcast, is share it with a friend, share it on your stories. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you to everyone who sent me well wishes about my surgery. I've been doing really good, if you couldn't tell. Thank you so much, and I hope you guys have a great day and a great week, and I will talk to you next week. Bye!